break me at the pattern, the rings of Saturn, yeah, to get me out of my way.
Hey guys, and welcome to Jay's Nest. What I want to talk about today is losing your identity. Now, when you become an adult, this can come in many forms, by just being an adult or going through a lot of pain in your life or motherhood. Today I'm just going to talk about my experience with this, and mine is directly related around motherhood. This is just kind of how I see myself and how I've lost my identity and the things that I've gone through. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story. You guys see a lot of my cloth diapering content. You guys see a lot of my younger children just because they're the ones that have been cloth diapered. But I started my parenting journey when I was 15. I got pregnant. I found out I was pregnant 10 years ago with my first child. I actually had her a few weeks after I turned 16, but for the majority of me being 15, I was pregnant. Now that alone comes with a lot of pain. It's actually a part of my life that I've dissociated from a lot because I went through a lot of pain being a teen mother and going through that, and that's something that I still need to heal from. But that was really the first step in my life journey where I started to lose who I was. I was so young at the time, I didn't really know who I was in the first place. I really feel like your 20s are a time where you find out who you are and what you like, and you finally get to meet yourself on a soul level. At least that's what I'd like to think, and that's what I've personally experienced. I can't remember a time where I wasn't a mom or taking care of children, and I feel like that's where my depression lies, where all the pain in my life has built up to a place, and I never learned how to deal with my problems. I never learned how to express my emotions. I've had a lot of failed relationships where we just couldn't communicate how we felt, and that's kind of where I'm at in my life right now, is learning how to communicate what I need, how I need to be loved, how I feel, letting my emotions freely flow. So I have seasons of happiness and sadness. There have been almost 10 years where I lost myself. I didn't know what it meant to be me. What does it even mean to be you outside of the word mom? That's where I've been. Like, can you be a mom and a human at the same time? Like, can you be just a person and a mom? See, what I grew up with was a very self-sacrificing mom. Love her to death. I have a very sweet Filipino mother. She grew up in the Philippines and came here after she met my dad. She is a very, very sweet lady, but I'm finding myself having to look at the way she parented me and the way that I parent my children. And there are some things that I've taken from her that I just don't want to do with my children. And that's no offense to my mom, but I think we can all feel that to an extent where we want to do some things different than our parents. We want to grow. If you know better, do better. But I ignore my emotions. And by ignoring things and situations and emotions, I've learned to stuff my problems down. And in the midst of all that, I got lost in it. Like it was throwing me around and tumbling me through the dryer. I was getting hot and uncomfortable with who I was and who I was becoming, and years were going by and nothing changed. I spent years depressed, and I'm not here to diagnose anybody, not here to give medical advice. I'm just here to share my story. But you know, depression for me depression looks different for everybody, but depression for me has a lot to do with me ignoring my problems and stuffing my problems away. I find so much more happiness when I deal with my problems or I look at my problems and I find healthy ways to cope with them and release them. Lately for me, it's been hoop dancing. If you guys follow my Instagram stories, I love to hoop dance. I am not good at dancing. I'm not so great at hooping. But I don't do it for the looks, though learning new tricks is very fun and it gives me more flow in my dance and more things to do with my dancing. But for me, hoop dancing is very multi-dimensional. It's a mind, body, soul thing where it's a physical meditation, I guess we'd say, where I just kind of don't think of anything and I just deep breathe and I move with my body and I just feel the emotions that are inside me, everything that I've bottled up, and I dance and I let it go. It's not about looking sexy or looking pretty or looking cool. For me, it's about releasing everything. And I think that's what we need more of when we lose our identity, is to find time for ourselves. I have been in some dark places with my depression over the years. I first started to really struggle with depression after I had my oldest daughter in 2009. There was a point where I was suicidal and I didn't want to live anymore, and that's not a place I ever want to go. That's the darkest I've ever been in my life, just wanting to die. And I know some of us aren't open to admit that, and that's okay, but I do think at some point in our life we need to speak our truth, whether we're doing it through meditation and we're just healing that, whether you're hoop dancing like me and you're just releasing it, or if you're talking to a friend or a family member or a therapist about the things that you've gone through to help you speak your truth and release your pain. The whole journey to and through motherhood, no matter if your baby is 5 months old or 5 years old or 15 or 25 or 35, motherhood will continue to evolve. You never stop being a mother. It's a journey of evolution as a person and as a mother. But where is the line that separates the two? And I think a lot of us don't see ourselves outside of being a mother. And my mother was like that. My mother sacrificed everything all the time. She was always giving, and even to this day she barely keeps anything to herself. I don't know, I'm seeing life a lot deeper than I used to, and I don't want to be in that cycle anymore of not caring for myself. It hurts so bad to feel unloved by people around you, to feel judged by yourself, because when you judge yourself, you think other people are judging you that same way. You give them intentions that they may not even have. You start to become insecure about the world around you and yourself. Losing your identity is a very dark place, and there's so many facets to losing yourself, because we all, in some way, have lost our grasp with our childlike self. Last year, I actually made a spoken word poem. I'll link the video down below. It's one of my favorite videos I've ever made. It has like 100 views on it, but it is one of my favorite videos. It means a lot. It was written from the heart, and I'll link it down below, but it's about my child self, my childlike self. It's called Dear 8-Year-Old Me. And looking back on who I was when I was a child, she gives me a lot of comfort for who I am in the future, or who I am now. Because she reminds me that, you shouldn't take life so seriously. Don't forget to do the things that make you laugh. Like when I was a kid, I loved to jump rope and hula hoop. So hula hooping to me has this childlike wonder to it. Don't forget to love those around you, and don't forget to forgive. Forgive yourself first for everything that you do. It's okay to mess up. It's okay to not be perfect. You don't have to apologize for who you are, and you don't have to stay who you are. You don't have to stay in this bubble that you're stuck in. Find an outlet for you. Find something that you love to do. It could be knitting. It could be swimming. It could be hula hooping, or meditating, or yoga, or writing. There's just a million different creative outlets that you can use, and I think it could change your life. I think it could change your life if you took the time to take care of yourself, whether you need to read a book for 15 minutes or take a bath for 15 minutes. 15 minutes is the time that I allowed myself for self-care every day. And when I first started my hoop dancing, I did about 5-minute intervals at first for about 10 to 15 minutes a day where I got out of breath very easily. So 5 minutes at a time was working for me. Then it was 15 minutes at a time, then 30 minutes at a time. Went from 3 to 4 days a week to every day in the week, and now I like to hula hoop like the majority of the day. Whenever I can get music on and get dancing, that's what I'm doing, and it feels good, and I feel so much of this love energy just surrounding me, and I don't know, it just feels good to be able to release everything that's weighing down on my shoulders each day. It almost feels addicting to do that. It feels addicting to be happy, because for so long I've been sad and depressed, and just to feel this happiness, something that gives me joy each day, it reminds me that I deserve to feel that way. I deserve to be happy no matter what. Why have I been depriving myself of joy and happiness? Why have I been doing that to myself? I deserve to feel happy, and it feels so good. And now I'm in the habit of hoop dancing every day, and it's given me so many different revelations, which I'll talk about in a totally separate video, because I feel like that could take up this whole entire video. I feel like this video is all over the place, and I know a lot of my videos are, but I literally just turned my camera on and I've just been talking. Usually I try to plan something for the video, different points I want to go over, but you know, I might just make this into its own separate, like, actual sit-down talk video, because there are lots of different facets of this conversation I want to talk about. But I've lost myself for almost a decade. The person I was so sad and alone. I was very lost, and I didn't feel like I belonged anywhere. This also makes me think that maybe some of us are so sad after we have our babies because we don't have that sense of community. We don't have that village. It does take a village to raise a child, and we have been separated from that sense of community, from that sense of having that village. And maybe that's part of it. Maybe it's really that painful to be away from having that community of women. And that's also another reason why I love this online community, because I may not have a lot of you guys physically here, but a lot of you guys do reach out to me on social media platforms, on Instagram, on here, sometimes on Facebook, and you guys might not think so, but your words do make an impact on me and how I feel. And I think we should all have that feeling. We should all know what it feels like to have that community. And this community has reminded me that there are good people out in this world, and there are people who care. And I make this video because I care about a lot of you, and I know a lot of you have been in my exact situation. I know a lot of you have not been in my exact situation, and that's okay. But I think at some point we do struggle with losing our identity and finding who we are again. And don't be afraid to look for that person again. Don't be afraid to look for happiness, because I think sometimes we need to hear that we deserve happiness. And sometimes being completely self-sacrificing isn't the best way to be the best version of you. Sometimes the best thing you can do for yourself is to take care of yourself first. Fill up your glass too. Because I promise it's going to be really hard to take care of your kids if your glass is empty. I've been there. And I think that's what pulls me deeper into a depression, is not taking care of myself. Just not having the energy or drive or motivation, or a low self-worth, thinking that I don't deserve to be happy anyways, so why do it? I deserve to be sad in this life. And that's so silly to say, but that's where I've been a lot. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about your journey and how you guys lost yourself. If you have the courage to do so, if you want to speak your truth, share your story, do it down below in the comment section. If you've lost your identity, whether it's through motherhood or your journey to motherhood or whatever it may be, just your journey through adulthood, share your story down below. Whether you're starting to lose your identity, you're in the trenches and you're completely lost, or if you've found your way to shore and you're finding yourself again, or you've found yourself. Share your story down below. There's so many people watching this video who are in one of those stages of life, and I think it's always helpful to share your story and speak your truth and get it out there, because you're not the only one who's going through that. And I think it's meaningful to connect with people that also know what you feel and what you're going through, and I hope the comment section of my channel can always be that place for you guys. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope to have more deep dive talks like this, and I'll see you next time.